This is Green Blitz with your host, Joe Mauceri.
They got their first win of the season, and then they never even really got to celebrate as a team. The bye week coming at a very interesting time for the New York Jets. Next up, they get ready to play the Cleveland Browns. I am Joe Mauceri, and this is the Green Blitz. Joining us each and every week to talk about all things Jets is NFL reporter for the New York Post, Ryan Dunleavy. Ryan, we still don't know who's going to be quarterback for the Jets. This seems to be a running theme. So where do you think the QB carousel is going to land after hearing from Aaron Glenn?
How does it not go back to Justin Fields? Can you imagine, hey, you just won a game, you played pretty well, better than anyone thought you could play, and led this great comeback, and you're going back to the bench. I mean, look, Tyrod Taylor's had a lot of bad injury luck in his career. He loses his job and his opportunities to injuries more than anybody else I can possibly remember. I think that's probably what happened here. I think the Jets were probably going to go with Tyrod Taylor last week after Woody Johnson ripped Justin Fields, and then Tyrod came up with a knee injury, couldn't go, and Justin Fields might have won his job back, at least for the time being. This is going to be something we're talking about every week, Joe. This is going to be a seesaw, 6-7, as the kids say.
Yeah, 6-7, back and forth. So you look at the way he played. Does it say anything, the fact that Glenn is not coming out and saying right away, this is going to be my quarterback?
I think what it says is he's worried about the wrong things. That's what I think it says. Is he probably knows who it is. I think he's probably got a case of Jets whiplash where it's a good thing he didn't say it was Taylor last week because he had to go back to Fields. So why say it too early? Because you never, he could say it's Fields and Fields could break his pinky in practice tomorrow. And then it's I just gave Tyrod a no vote of confidence and now I got to go play him. So I think it says he's probably got some Jets whiplash, and I think it says he's also worried about the wrong things, like playing mind games with the opponents. Do you think that the other teams are really worried about, the Jets, their quarterback change, that's going to change I got to blow up my whole defensive scheme for this 1-7 roster? I think that they might be a little too focused on playing games with the media and the opponents instead of just playing the best player and getting him ready.
All right, you mentioned those games they're playing with the media. Here is an exchange between Glenn and reporters from his Monday morning press conference. Make of it what you will. Take a listen.
I just want to go back to the quarterback thing again. So obviously you want to keep it secret for as long as possible for whatever, competitive reasons. But I'm wondering, doesn't it help the quarterback's confidence when the coach comes out and says, "You're my guy"?
It helps the quarterback confidence when the player and the coach talk and they know who the guy is. Not that I'm telling it to you guys. That has nothing to do with the player's confidence.
So basically, are you kind of saying that, whomever is going to start knows his status as he practices throughout the week this week?
And that'll be between me and the player.
But, okay.
I don't understand it. I don't understand why you guys keep doing it.
Well, AG, I'm just kind of...
It's really getting hilarious, too. Because you guys keep asking the same question, and I keep giving you the same answer.
I am just curious, though, AG. What is the competitive advantage or disadvantage for a team not knowing which of these two guys is playing?
My own reasons.
All right. So Aaron Glenn saying his own reasons, whatever the heck that means. There was that conversation about the confidence that this instills in the quarterback. If your coach goes out there and voices their support in the media, do you think there's anything to that, or do you think it matters as long as the player knows that they're going to be the one starting? Because at this point, confidence. How much confidence can Justin Fields get from the belief that this Jets administration has in him, given the fact that he would have been benched if Tyrod Taylor was healthy?
Yeah, I think it depends on the player. I think some players need an external vote of confidence. I think some players do not. Some players have more than enough. Baker Mayfield doesn't need anybody to tell him anything. He has more than enough confidence. So, really depends on the player. I think we've seen no further than Daniel Jones in New York and Daniel Jones in Indianapolis, what confidence from a regime can do for you. But in this case, you're right. I think Justin Fields, he talked about being vulnerable last week, about crying in a closet. he is somebody who probably could use a vote of confidence. So yes, I would disagree with Aaron Glenn. I do think there's something to letting the whole world know you're behind him. But I'll say this, Joe, if you're not behind him, don't lie. So
Yeah.
like the worst thing Aaron Glenn could do is give you like a false vote of confidence, because that smells to everybody in the building. It quickly gets found out. So like the worst thing he could do is throw his support behind somebody he doesn't really believe in. So like, and I guess if that regard, it's a little transparent, but in that regard, at least he's not setting himself up to eat his words.
All right. Well, the trade deadline in the NFL officially Tuesday at 4 p.m., but the Jets getting a little bit of a jump on that trade deadline as they moved Michael Carter, the second here, their cornerback, over to Philadelphia. They get back John Mechie. Let's talk about the impetus for the trade here. Was this just more about dumping salary and moving on from a player who really no longer fit in New York?
Yeah, I actually like this move. So this is like a checkers move, right? Like they got Jason Brownlee from the Titans early this season. Seems like a pretty good player who had fallen out of favor with the Titans for whatever reason. Seems like he's taken over that slot role that used to belong to Michael Carter, who's had some bad injury luck and was a pretty good player, but has a hard time staying in the lineup. So now you have a cheaper option that this regime prefers at corner. Slot corner. So Carter suddenly becomes expendable. He has a decent sized contract. So they move him. They free up some salary cap space for the future. And we've all been screaming for them to get a receiver. John Mechie hasn't done much in his career. He obviously had battled leukemia early in his rookie year, missed a lot of time. He's come back from that. I talked to Devin Singletary, one of his former Texans teammates about it, said Mechie's kind of guy who you're just waiting to blow up on, needs to see the right season, good guy, works hard, all that stuff, high potential. So the Jets go out and get we've all been screaming for them to get a receiver. Maybe Mechie is a low risk, high reward receiver that they get while clearing out some of Carter's cap space for a guy who is probably destined to be cut after the season anyway.
All right, so let's talk about Mechie, right? Because Carter's moving on. Obviously, I think he was the highest paid slot cornerback when the Jets gave him his contract at the time. But you bring in Mechie, and I look at this. I mean, there's a lot of upside to this here. And I remember not only did he have the cancer that he was fighting when he came into the league, he had that terrible ACL injury at the end of his collegiate career there. And I look at a guy like Jameson Williams, who's over in Detroit, and what he has been able to do since he's got healthy. And I feel like that this can be, he has big play potential. Like, he was one of the best college receivers coming out. And obviously the injuries is why he falls a little bit there, but he really hasn't had that opportunity. If this guy can stay healthy, do you believe he can be a second wide receiver here for the Jets?
It's a stretch based on what he's done in his career, right? He had 16 for 158 in 2003. He had 24 for 254 last year. Obviously, he did nothing for the Eagles this year after the Texans traded him. 4 catches for 18 yards. But, that's a hard receiving core to break into. The Jets receiving core is not a hard receiving core.
AJ Brown can't even break into that receiving core, if you ask him.
But, no, here's what I would say.
Yeah.
Do I think he can be like a high-end number 2 or even like a middle-end number 2 receiver? No, there's nothing that has given me that sign. I did think that he was that kind of player coming out of college, but that's a couple injuries and unfortunate illness later. But he's better than what they've been running out there. So even at this level, he's better than what they're running out there. So I think it's a slight upgrade with the potential to be a medium-sized upgrade.
All right. Glenn was asked about whether or not he can actually play this week. He just pumped the brakes on everything. I don't even think he's gotten a chance to talk to him, or if he has, it was probably a very brief conversation from what he had to say about the wide receiver. Let's get him in the building. Let's see how he is. But from a health standpoint, this is at least good news. He did say that he expects from a health standpoint, he would be able to go out there, assuming he's able to get up to speed on everything else. People think you just come to a new football team and you run out on the field like we're playing pickup in the schoolyard over there. All right, so the Jets get started with the trade deadline, and they have a lot of pieces that it seems like other teams are going to be interested in. The phone has been ringing, and Aaron Glenn says you're going to listen. So what do you think is the most likely move that the Jets make from here on out if they end up making another move?
The most likely move is probably to trade Quincy Williams, former All-Pro linebacker, contract up at the end of the year. I think he's already 30 or he's about to be 30. So I think that's the kind of move that a 1-7 team makes. You trade a guy to a contender for a rental. He's an awesome guy. He'll fit right into a locker room in the right scheme. He could fly around and make plays. You don't know if the Jets are going to resign him after the season. I would say probably not. So that's the kind of move they make. Now, there's all kinds of talk, like, do they trade Breece Hall? Do they trade Quinnen Williams? I'd be stunned if they traded Quinnen Williams, absolutely stunned. And Breece Hall is an interesting case, Joe, right? We've talked about this before. What the Jets need to do right now is decide, like right now, are we going to franchise tag him, and are we going to make him a really serious offer? And if the answer to those two things is no, they need to trade him, because you can't just let him walk out the door for nothing to get from 2 wins to 4 wins this season if he has a game like he did the last game. So if you're not going to make him an offer, then trade him. If you're going to make him a serious offer, or you're going to keep him on the franchise tag, I'm always in favor of keeping good players.
All right, so let's talk about this. If you do trade him, though, we've been hearing a 3rd-round pick. The reports were, though, the Jets aren't going to do anything unless they get an offer they can't refuse. So, if that's the case, it's all posturing at this point, obviously, with the deadline approaching here. But what do you need to get in return because of that franchise tag? One more year of Breece Hall could be valuable, right? You know about the wear and tear on running backs. And so what do you need to get in return for Breece Hall?
Well, if I'm going to franchise tag him, I don't want any. Like, if I decide I'm franchise tagging, I'm not trading him. Yeah, I guess you could give me a 2 and I would consider not franchise tag him. Yeah. But I would rather franchise tag him than trade him for a 3 or a 4. If I decide I'm not trading him, then I'll take a 3 or a 4, and I think you'll get a 3 or a 4 for him. But I would much rather franchise. That's why, to me, they have to know now what their plan is with Breece Hall. Like, we are not letting him walk out the door. If we can't get a deal done, we are franchise tagging him, and that's that. And the only way that we're not doing that is if we get a 2nd-round pick, which I don't think they'll get. So I would want to know right now what our plan is. If I'm anybody in that front office, what is our plan for March with Breece Hall? That would determine what I do today. I guess I would trade him for a 3rd or a 4th if I'm not franchise tagging him.
Do you have any concern about Hall playing on the franchise tag next season, or if he would hold out? We've seen running backs do that before. At this point, if you're Jets management and Muji, you got to just say, hey, we're going to do it, and then we'll let the chips fall where they may.
A couple things on that. Like, yes, I would have a concern about that, because like that's very possible. Running backs need to seize their contract window while they can. The other thing, though, is that he is a former 2nd-round pick. So he hasn't really had his big payday. Like, whereas Saquon Barkley's first contract was, I don't know, I'm making this up, 4 years, $40 million. So he had a little bit more money in the bank or equity to play hardball with the Giants, even though he chose not to play any hardball. Or Christian McCaffrey, again, big contract, could have played hardball. Breece Hall's first contract was a 4-year, $9 million contract before taxes. So he hasn't really had a big payday. So his franchise tag value would be like 12, 13, 14 million, something like that. That's going to be, that's going to be life-changing money for him. So I think he would be less likely to hold out. Like, he might not come to offseason, like voluntary stuff or whatever, but I would think he'd be there on the franchise tag in July, because anything, he's costing himself fine money on what would be the biggest salary of his career.
All right. Well, we got to see if Breece Hall is even in town after Tuesday before we start worrying about whether he's going to hold out for the franchise tag next season. I'm putting the cart before the horse, but I'm sure the Jets front office is thinking about this. All right, we got to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to hand out some midterm grades and talk about the potential return of Garrett Wilson and what a boost that would be for the offense moving forward. Stay with us. Gang Green Blitz coming right back.
Welcome back to Gang Green Blitz.
The Jets coming off a win and the bye week as they get ready to try and build some momentum for the first time this season. Welcome back to the show. I am Joe Mauceri here at the Gang Green Blitz, and joining us each and every week is Ryan Dunleavy, NFL reporter for the New York Post. Ryan, the Jets hoping to have more good news coming off the bye week with the potential return of Garrett Wilson. Glenn said he was going to practice, but wouldn't say whether or not he's going to play this week. What are your thoughts on whether or not we could see Wilson return for the Jets offense here?
It's hard to say, Joe, until you see him out on the field Wednesday. That's when media gets to actually lay eyes on guys and see how involved they are when the team goes to individual drills, not just stretching. It's hard to say. I would say that if Glenn's saying that he's been, other than the quarterback debacle from 2 weeks ago, he's been pretty transparent on injuries so far. So I'd say it's trending towards him returning, but hard to say for sure till you see him on the field.
All right. Well, you look at what the Jets offense did, obviously against a historically bad defense in the Cincinnati Bengals, especially coming off what they did against the Chicago Bears this week. But they look to be promising, right? And Breece Hall seemed to find his stride there. Now they're going up against the Cleveland defense that has still been a very good defense. And obviously we know about how much pressure they can put on the quarterback there with Myles Garrett. So if he does return this week, what would you expect from him in this offense?
From Garrett?
Yes.
Yeah, I mean,
Garrett Wilson, not Myles Garrett. Yeah.
I see what you did there. I would expect him to be the 15 target Garrett Wilson again. Like that's what, like the Jets are going to go right back to feeding him the ball, in overdrive. He's still returning to a shorthanded receiving core. I would expect him, if he's on the field, to want the ball that many times. That's kind of Garrett Wilson's personality, and the Jets will go right back to overusing him.
We heard from Breece Hall last week, who said that when Wilson's not out there, he wants to be fed the ball. Do you think there's a ripple effect there, or do you think we see Hall and Wilson, both getting that usage in this game here moving forward because of the success they had against the Bengals?
Look, to me, like there has to be an element of like you have to take what the defense gives you. But if I was Denner Engstrand, like 25 throws would go to Breece, 25 throws would go to Garrett Wilson, and 25 touches would go to Breece Hall. And I don't think anybody else would touch. Maybe Mason Taylor can have like 5, but but I'm not sure I'd give the ball to anybody else on this offense.
Oh, Tyler Johnson's going to be disappointed to hear that after he seemed
that
to
was
have
a
some
hell of a
chemistry.
catch. That was a hell of a catch he made for a touchdown. Let's throw him 2 courtesy targets.
I love it. A very simple game plan for Ryan Dunleavy when he installs the offense. Hey, it worked for the Green Bay Packers. What'd they run? 5 plays, 6 plays when they won their first 2 championships in the NFL? The game's come a long way since then. All right, we're about the midway point in this new NFL 17-game season here. So it's time to hand out some midterm grades. Are you ready to put on your professor hat here, Professor Dunleavy?
This should be good. What are we? Are you gonna get? Yeah, let's go. Let's go. I'm guessing I'm gonna give a lot of Fs and incompletes. What have we got?
So to be fair, my producer and I were discussing this before we came on, and I told him, "Oh, that's really easy. Just put Fs down the line." And he said I was a tough grader. So let's see how you go. We're gonna start at the top. Aaron Glenn. 1-7 start. Obviously, the conversations with the media, the time management, the aggression or lack thereof. You get a win before the bye. Add it all up. What's your midterm grade for Glenn in his rookie season here as head coach?
I'll give him a D. And only because he's a first-year coach. If he was anything other than the first 8 games of his career, I'd give him an F. There's not a lot that inspired me. Like you said, the time management stuff has worried me. His approach to New York and to criticism has worried me. His handling of the quarterbacks has worried me. About the only thing is it seems like the players genuinely like his tough guy response. So he's gotten them to rally around him. So I'll give him a D.
All right. And then let's move on because you said it was a rookie situation, Glenn getting a D. How about rookie offensive coordinator Tanner Engstrom then? What are you giving him?
Well, this is his job. I mean, this is his job, like to make the offense go. They had his first game and his last game were his 2 best games.
It's good bookending. Good bookending.
Everything
If you're a grader as a
everything
teacher.
everything in the middle was terrible. I'll give him a D too. There better be a lot of improvement because head coaches get 2-3 years for the most part. Coordinators are a bad get 1 year. So I'm gonna give him a D, but I'm not optimistic.
All right. You can throw him a bone there for not having Garrett Wilson the whole time, too. We'll
Sure.
give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt there. All right. How about defense, Steve Wilks, defensive coordinator? This has been a roller coaster ride of a season for this defense.
Yeah, I guess I'll give him a C minus. There were those 2 games in the middle against the Broncos and Panthers where they played winning defense. But otherwise, 34, 30, 29, 27, 37, 38, C minus might be generous. There were those 2 games in the middle, but this has not played well. I'll give him a pass a little bit because the defense, you're expecting them to pick up like where Robert Saleh's Jets defenses left off. Robert Saleh's Jets defenses had a lot more talent than this Jets defense does. So it's a little bit on the roster too. So C minus.
All right, so I added all up the average here. I think we get to probably a D plus. So you are a better, an easier grader than I was here. I think Jet fans wouldn't be as easy a grader as you've been so far. But the good thing is they're only midterm grades. You got the whole second half of the semester to turn it around, Ryan. Right?
Yeah, I don't know what an F looks like if this is a D plus, but I guess an F is 0 and 8.
Well, listen, hopefully it could still go that way the second half of the season. There's time to pull your grade up, but there's also time to have it sink down. And we will be watching throughout the week. We'll see what the Jets can do this week against the Cleveland Browns. Maybe they can make it 2 in a row. Wouldn't that be something? You don't seem too confident about that. All right.
I don't. But there are wins on the schedule. You could beat the Browns. You could beat the Dolphins. You could beat the Falcons. You could beat the Saints. It's possible the Jets actually get to like 4 wins. There's
all right. Optimism. There it is, folks. 4 wins potentially for the Jets this season. Ryan Dunleavy said it here first. Check back with us each and every week to see if the Jets are climbing toward that total. That's going to do it for this edition of the Gang Green Blitz. We'll talk to you next week.